Hello everybody, Kathy Arbor here, and today is acrylic painting day. So if you haven't seen on my community page on my channel, there is a link for you to download the printable traceable. So that will be this here, and this is what we're going to be painting today. So I have permission to use this traceable of it's the kitten and baby chick, but we're just doing the baby chick. So this is the traceable, so if you're interested in any of her drawings and paintings, this is an older book, Painting Gardens and Animals with Sherry C. Nielsen, and she has tons of different books. Now these are mainly for oil, but they can be used for whatever medium you want to do. So we're going to be, I just cropped this, and this is what we're going to be doing today. So we'll just keep this out for reference of colors. Now, as you know, I've been doing most of my paintings for the live streams on file folders. And it's just a basic office file folder. You can get them pretty well anywhere. They're sturdy enough to handle quite a bit of wetness, so mixed media, a lot of gluing, that type of thing, it works great. This is one of the paintings that we did in the membership, and if you're interested in seeing a little bit different than what I show on the live streams, a little more detailed usually, you can check that out by clicking on the join button, and it'll send you to a recording explaining what the different levels are. Now today I'm going to be doing this side, and I did have this scrapbook paper. A lot of times I do use scrapbook paper for the backgrounds, and then I just glue it onto the existing file folder. So you can do whatever you want to do on that. This one I believe is Stamperia, and I think it's the gardening one, if I'm correct. Let me check. Is that it? Or it could be Time. I think it's out of this one, but I could be wrong. They have so many. This one is, this is Imagine. I could be wrong though. I think it's the gardening one. There's a gardening one that's similar to the color. It's got different more gardening pictures on it. Just let me check. I should have it here. Yeah, it's a gardening one. So it was this one that I got it from. I don't have the cover page, unfortunately, but it's got the different plant tags in it, wheelbarrows, watering cans, that type of thing, birdhouses. I don't remember what it's called. If anyone else remembers that, you can put it in the description below. But you could use any of these. I also was thinking of using, where did I put it? From the, okay, I just had it. Where did I put it? Is it in here? Nope. There was one called Once Upon a Time. Scrapbook paper from, I think it was K and Company, but I could be wrong. I thought that one might be kind of cute also. Oh, here it is. Oh, maybe I'll have, no, that's a different one. Yeah, here it is. So it has the little fairies and mushrooms, that type of thing. I don't know which, I think it was K and Company, but I could be wrong. I thought that might look kind of cute too, for just putting this on there as a story, or this. I'm not sure. I might, I like the color of this, because this here is going to be kind of a grayish color, and then the yellow chick, and then the daffodils. But this would be cute too. The yellow. It would go well with that also. But I have to cut it. So it will go into my file folder here. And you can download these and change the size if you want. So I could put that right like this. And then it would be about to there. Because I kind of want to keep Once Upon a Time in there. I like this though, but I could always put that in myself. Yeah, I think I'm going to use this. So I'm going to cut this to what width I want it. So let's see. I'll just close it. And trace around it. Hey Janet, we have a traceable for everyone to use. It's going to be this chick and some daffodils. I'm not doing the kitten today because it'd be too long, but we'll do the kitten another time. And this is from the book Painting Garden Animals with Sherry C. Nielsen, and I have written permission to use her traceables. So if you want to download that, you can do that. And either watch this first or you can paint along with me. Hey Dot, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here. The sun is shining and it's 23 Celsius here, which is really high for around here. Usually we're in the single digits. But I'm not complaining, although I don't want it too long because we're bound and determined to get a patch of cold weather like we normally do. And I don't want all my blossoms coming out and then getting frozen, basically. Hey, Kim. How's the picture and the sound? Is it all good? You never know. Let me see if this will fit now. So it'll be like this, and I can trim around wherever I need to after it's done. Okay. And it's easier just to do it on the paper, and then when it's dry, you just glue it onto your existing paper. Thanks, Janet. Okay, so typically what I do, depending on the size of paper you're going to be using, you can enlarge it. Like I have two here that one's bigger than the other, so it's up to you how big you want whatever size paper, or maybe you're doing it on a canvas or wallboard or something like that. So you can change that size. So I'm just going to use a smaller one here, and I have to decide what I want. I don't have to put all of the daffodils in. I think I'll probably, I could even put it on an angle. I think I'll just do it like this. And then I like to trace mine with a piece of transfer paper. Let's see where to put it. This is the gray one from Sorel, I think it's called. Let's see, better make sure. Yeah, Sorel. That's this one. It's nice because it's not waxed, and therefore it's easy to erase if you have to. This is a really good one for watercolor if you're wanting to trace something for a watercolor painting, because then you can erase it. It also comes in different colors too, which is awesome. Okay, let's see. I want a little bit of that handle showing, so it'll be like that, I think. Maybe down a little bit, like so. And I like to tape mine. Hey Judy! Nice and sunny, sounds great. Nice and sunny till now, though. 5 degrees Celsius here. 5? Oh my goodness, Dot. I feel so sorry for you. You guys are usually like awesome weather in the spring. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So the weather is just gone bonkers. Just don't know what one day to the next what you're gonna get. All right, so I'm just going to, I've got a fairly bold nib on this pen, and it's blue so I can see what I've drawn. So just go through your traceable and trace your bird and flowers. because I'm using the paper as my background, I don't have to do a background. Now, if you are going to use a background of your own, you're going to paint something, then don't put this on yet. Do your background first, and then trace once your background is dry. But because I'm using this scrapbook paper, then I don't have to worry about it. Okay, I think I did this part. And this is lines of wood. It's like an old feeding spoon where they would lift the grain out of bags to feed the chickens. So you just put your marks in so you can figure out. You don't have to put them all in because most of this will be covered with our base coat, so a lot of it you don't have to worry about. Matter of fact, should I? I think I might. I'm not going to really do the bird yet. I'm just going to do this first. I'm going to just outline where those flowers meet. So I'm going to put a base coat on first of this feed spoon or whatever you want to call it. And then we'll paint the bird in. Because the bird is yellow, it's kind of got a little bit of gray in the background, like the background of the feathers. So we'll use that gray that we're going to use in the spoon as part of his feathers. I can put these flowers in though, because it's on the background, it's not in the spoon really. So if you want to put those in, you can put them in. It's gonna be cool. I really like little baby birds. So hope everybody's doing well, enjoying the spring weather. Get out as much as you can. Get a little bit of sun for the vitamin D. Helps you. Improves your immune system. So don't put too much sun lotion on. You do need a bit of sun. I know through the years we've been told again and again, don't get sun, but you know what? I think that's one of the main problems with a lot of people is they're deficient of vitamin D. And that's not good. I'm going to put these, well, I guess I don't really have to either. The straw I can put in later also. So really, nothing in the spoon needs to be done yet. I'm going to put these leaves here. I did a bit of gardening. Yesterday was 25 Celsius, which was nice. Although I could almost see the flowers growing yesterday. I went out in the morning, and then by the time 1 o'clock rolled around, my daffodils were in bloom. They weren't in the morning. They were still budded. That's how quickly they came out. The next week we're supposed to have cooler weather again, though. So that'll stop them from fading too quickly. All right. So I'll just keep that to the side there if I need it. All right. Let's see. Sorry for the noise. Just kind of prop my book up a bit so I can see it. Keep your reference in case you need to follow it for some reason. All right, I think you can see that. We're supposed to get snow showers today. Oh, yuck. You've already cut your grass? Wow, Kim. Not here, but that can wait. I don't want to start cutting grass this early. It's bad enough we have to cut for as long as we do. My mom and dad came back from Florida with the darkest tans. Teenagers, eh? How cute. Young at heart. Young at in mind is young at heart. Yep. It's cute. Okay. My grass has been cut today. Really? Well, you have had a bit of mild weather though. See, here we just got rid of the snow. And it has been fairly cool. This is the first week that we've had above freezing at night. Most of our nights are below freezing and we get frost. So this is the first week of no freezing temperatures at night. Where are you out there? Robert's cut ours like 3 times and it's out. Oh, wow. Well, you're, what zone are you, Janet? I think you're, what, 7? Something like that? 8, maybe? All right, so now this can here, it's kind of like a galvanized looking. So it's a kind of a, I would say a warm gray. So it's got more yellow tint to it, or a brown tint. That's what warm gray means. A cool gray is usually got on the blue side of things. So we'll need a medium gray with a warm gray with a little bit of cream or white if you have it. So if you don't have a warm gray, you have, let's see. This is what I would call a warm gray in acrylic craft paint. This is called Lynchen gray. It's this one. Mudstone is also kind of a medium gray. Or sandstone could be used, and we could always add a little bit of darker color to it too. So if you got a black, a soft black, so I'm just gonna use some of this. I'm gonna put out a little bit of black, just in case I have to darken anything. And a cream or a white. Let's see. Light buff or buttermilk would do. This is buttermilk color. I'm just going to put it over here. And then I like using a not too big of a brush. I'm going to put a medium gray tone in the background, and then I can darken it or lighten it in patches. So if you want to get maybe a 1/2 inch, this is a flat. And to make my light or medium gray, this is a little bit on the light side, so I'm just going to take a bit of this aside, and then a little bit of that black. It doesn't have to be much, because black can dominate your colors very, very quickly. So now you want enough to do the whole thing. You don't want to have to mix the color again, because it can get a little difficult. If you are off, you'll notice it, especially in this big area. Okay, so there's my medium gray. So see, this was the plain, what was this one? Sandstone, I think. So I just darkened it with a little bit of black. Okay, and I'm going to paint the whole area with this color. Now I didn't put a glaze or a medium over this paper. If you want, you can do that. Put a matte medium over top, and that way if you make a mistake, you can just wipe it right off of your paper. Whereas if I make a mistake on this, it's not going to come up. It's there. I've decided not to do it just because I would have to dry it and take more time. But you can go ahead and do it. It will save you in case you do something not quite what you want. Can you guys hear my stomach? Okay. So it's a good coat. And that's just the inside. Now, if I show you the picture, see the other part, the underneath, is just slightly lighter, so you could add a little bit of light to this part, and we'll darken the areas that need to be. And that way you're going to be able to see the difference from where the bottom is to the inside. So what I'm going to do is just take that other color that I darkened, and use that for the bottom part. So this color here, I'm just going to use that. So these patterns or traceables that I've been giving you, you can use those for watercolor too. So if you don't want to do acrylic, or maybe you're into oil, they can be used for anything really. Okay, and let's see, that's wood. Okay, I think that's it. In fact, it was done almost before I knew he was here. I don't hear. That's nice. I would love to have someone do my grass, but not too much going on around here. Matter of fact, yesterday we were just put in stay-at-home lockdown again for a month. So we'll see if that improves things. I guess the variant is kind of getting out of control here. In the cities anyways. So won't make much difference with me. I stay home anyways, and especially in the spring I just garden. Okay, so now this area, it's half galvanized steel and half wood. So this part and the handle is wood, so it's old wood. So I'm going to add a little bit of the buttermilk color to that last color I used to do under here to lighten it even more. So there's my buttermilk. So I'm going to take some of that and mix some to the side. I just want it lighter. I think I want it even lighter than that. Let's see. I want it fairly light because I'm going to do streaking on it. This way too you can tell where each area is because it's different, so you don't get confused. Sometimes it's hard to know when you're doing all of these base coats. You lose the lines, but that's why you have a traceable, so you can refer back to it. Or retrace things too. Now if you're using artist grade paints, you may have to put a second layer on because Artist grade tend to be a little bit on the transparent side. All right. Now, what else could we? I think that's all I want to do right now because I'm going to be doing some sponging, so I don't have to do the flowers quite yet, just in case I go over the edges of the flowers. You don't want to do those and then have to repaint them. So let's dry this up a little bit. You're zone 6? Janet? Wow. I thought you were higher. I'm 5B. I don't know how they figure out the zones. And our last frost date is May 24th. Okay, so if you have any raw umber or burnt sienna, let's see. Just looking for my burnt sienna. Cayenne, cool brown, coffee bean, chocolate, I have to, well, I can use this. I might have it upstairs. This one's called Cayenne. I can use some of this. Something with a little bit of a red tinge to it. You don't need a lot, 'cause we're just gonna do a little bit of wood look. So see how there's some reddish brown colors here and there. It's not a lot, but that's how we give the look of wood, by adding these dry brush effects. So we want to have a little bit of raw umber and sienna, and we'll do some dry brushing. And you have to dry brush in the way that the wood is running, the grain of the wood. So let's see. Raw umber. I have to get my raw umber out. I don't see any. Dark brown. Okay. Here's it's almost the same color of the cayenne, so I'm not going to bother using that. This one is the burnt umber. I use a lot of burnt umber for mixing, and especially for nature, it's the perfect color. See, I'll just put a dab there. Met her on the 8th grade. Let's see. Okay, so we want a dry brush. So you want, if you have a bristle brush, I find they seem to work a little better than a lot of brushes. You want something that's a little stiffer. Let's see, just trying to find one that's, oh, there it is. So this is a fairly rough looking one. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that gray on my brush, so the darker gray, and I'm swiping across in the direction that the wood's going. And it's just dry brushed. So you want it kind of patchy looking, I guess you could say. And this is the handle. And it actually has a little bit of more darkness underneath, so you can put that in there. And the top of this there's a thickness showing, I guess you could say. Now I'm not going to clean my brush, I'm just going to dip it into the black and maybe a little bit of into the raw umber and mix it into my brush so it's not completely mixed. And now I'm just gonna, and just lightly, you don't want a really heavy mark, you just want it light. So it's probably going to be a little darker along the bottom here. You can mix the colors as you're going. Add a little black and then a little umber. I'm going to put a little more black on there for the top here, where it's showing the thickness. A little bit more of this color maybe. Just keep playing with it until you like it, basically. Maybe a little more of this color. More black. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little bit of a glaze over it, just to soften some of those edges. So I've got a smaller brush, 1/4 inch. This is an angled brush. And I'm just going to take some of that color and just around the where the wood and the steel would meet. Just going to put a little bit of a line down there. There'd be a bit of a shadow. Just blend it into the wood part. There's not a lot of paint on my brush, it's more of a glaze than anything else. A little bit black. I just want to emphasize the edge of this. So it'd be just a little bit darker. Just from wear and tear. Dry brush it a little bit, and then under here is darker too. Now there is a little circle for where this wood handle comes out of, and we'll have to put that in. A little bit shiny on the, just under there. Now, if you want, you can get your traceable back and put the try and place it where and I'm just gonna take my pen and put that circle in again so I know where it is. Did it go in? No, it didn't. Let's see. Can be tricky. See. Looks about right. Let's try that again. There. So that's where the darker hole for the, now it's fairly dark, so I'm going to use a smaller brush and use that umber and black together and just outline it. Don't have too much water in your brush though. That. I'm just going to put a few lines in here just to make it a little bit, sometimes they're little cracks, little dark marks from the saw lines, that type of thing. But you can put those in, little specks from insects. It just makes it a little more realistic looking. And I think I need a little bit more darker in here. So I'm just gonna darken that edge where they meet. Maybe a little bit darker in here, glaze it a little bit. Some water. Bring it out. There. Now let's do the galvanized, I guess it is, steel. Now if you have a what are they called? Sea sponge? That would probably work the best because of the shape. If you don't, try and get some kind of sponge with holes in it. So what we want to do is take some of that color, wet your sponge, and wring out as much of the water out of it. You don't want your sponge dripping wet. And then dip your sponge in that lighter color that you made, not the pure buff color, but it was a little bit darker. And then just pat it try not to get over into the wood though. And then a little bit on this part too. You can move your sponge around so you don't get the same imprint. And then I want you to soften it with a brush, soft brush. Let's see. Because we don't want it really hard. So just go through it and soften it a bit. With some water on your brush. This way it'll look a little more mottled. So it's not taking the paint away completely, but it is softening it. So we don't want really hard lines or blotches, I guess you could say. They're kind of faded looking. And this is a way of fading them. Okay. And then dry that, and we'll add another layer to it. All right, now we can take a little bit of that black color, or the darker color that you made up. I'm going to just take some of this black, mix it in my sponge, and then I'm going to, more or less on the top part, just add a few marks up here. And then not as many as your other white ones that you did, and then just a few on the underneath of it too, and then do the same thing, kind of smush them either with a brush. You could use what I'm doing here, just smushing them so that they're not as noticeable, I guess. They're faded. Now there is a little bit of rust on the thing too, so we can take the same sponge, rinse it out to get that black out, and take some of that umber and that cayenne or raw sienna color, and just put a little bit, not a lot. There's just a few patches here and there that might have some. That's it. And then dry it. Hey, Devin. Okay, so got that part done. Now, before we put the chick in, see how it's kind of dark around him? It's a little bit darker, and there's a little bit darker in the straw too. So we're gonna actually put a glaze on top of this before we paint the straw and the chick. So again, get a soft brush, fairly large, and I want you to take some of that umber color and just paint on top of that area where the chick would be. So it's just basically inside the shovel or whatever it is. And then a little bit of the dark around the very edge. So I'm just taking a little bit of that dark gray color. Okay, and then if you notice, the underneath here is fairly dark, and we can do that with a glaze also. So we want to take some of that very dark color of, either use your black and mix quite a bit of water in it, so it's more of a glaze, and then on the bottom we want to put some of that, but not all the way up to the top, just on the bottom area. You can also just do one side of your paintbrush with the color on it, and it'll just do around the bottom. And we can go back later and darken that up if we have to. All right, and let's give that a dry, and then we'll put the chick on. Okay, so now we want to take our pattern and place it back on so we can put this chick on it. So we have to figure out where all this sat. Corner. That's the corner. I usually put my finger on the corners so I can see how far off I am. And then that's the handle. Let's see. There's the corner. Okay, that needs to go this way a little bit. Okay, that should do it. Now you could probably mark with a pencil where you're, now I may not, I'm going to have to use a white, I think, paper. Let's see if I have one here. Yeah. Because it's a dark color, I'm not going to be able to see that gray as well, so I have white tracing paper here. And then I take my pencil again and just draw out the chick. And just doing dashes around the body because I know it's fluffy, so you don't want a hard line. But you do want some indication of which way the little feathers are going. So put some of these lines in. Those little pin feathers. And just a few of these. Show me which way they're going. I think I got that. And then I'm just going to put a few of these pieces of straw in so I know where they are. You don't have to do them all exact. Just put some in. That's we're not going to do every straw exactly the way they're drawn. We'll just do it because no one's going to come and say, hey, those straws are wrong. Okay. I'll just keep that for a reference in case I need to know. So I think you can see it. I'll bring you guys in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So the little chick is kind of a soft, more of a goldy brown. It's not yellow. So we've got some almost on the orangish side, and then we've got a nice buttermilk color. But you see the little bit of gray behind it around the wings and the head? That's why we can use the background color to our benefit. Okay, so I'm going to get a different tray out so I don't mess this up too much. I'll still use these colors, but I want another tray that I can mix on. I don't want to get my yellows dirty looking. So I'll just take some of this dry paint off. I like using these. They're just easy to clean. They don't stick. I know I should have done this before I came on. Some people like using gray color to do their mixing. Everybody's different. Do what's right for you. Some people need white in order to see the color properly. So just find what's best for you. There's no really wrong way. You just have to do it for you. Alright, so I think I want a cadmium yellow. And then we're going to use some of that raw sienna because it's got more on the reddish side. And that light buff color will do for my lightening of it, or darkening of another color. So we'll put a little bit of that on. I have raw umber, so I want a fairly small brush, so I'm going to be using a round number 2, and this is a Princeton 1/4 inch flat angled. Now I'm going to take that raw, no, this was burnt umber, put it over here. And some of that raw umber, or raw sienna, just a smidge. Okay. And I think I'll probably do it more in, I want to keep some of that gray tone, so I think I might even just use a rake brush, if I can find it. Let's see, there it is. This is a rake brush, so it's great for doing fur, and you could use a stiffer brush too if you don't have a rake. You could use a bristle brush that's kind of splayed out a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the eyes in. So the eyes are black. And we can always put the highlights in later. I'm going to put a little bit of that cadmium yellow around the outer edge of it. We'll go back over it with the black to make it more round if it's not completely round looking. Let's see. Make sure there's no water in my brush. You don't want a big glob of water pouring out on your small area you're trying to do. Okay. And I think I'm going to do his beak too. So his beak's kind of an orangey color, so I'm going to use that raw sienna with a bit of yellow to make it kind of an orangey shade. And you want it going up into his feathers. We'll be highlighting this as we go. So this is kind of your base coat. Okay, and he has a little patch. Let's see. Of that color in his forehead too, right in here. So just put a little bit there. And just a smidgen right here, right behind his eye. Okay, now let's take this rake brush and we're going to put the medium yellow or the cadmium yellow on our brush and start stroking in the direction that the fur would be going. So and you want to leave some of that gray in there. go into this area that we just put a little bit of that raw sienna color in. So, and then his little forehead here. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. It's kind of almost dry painting, like a dry brush effect. Because I still want to keep some of that grayish color. And as I go around the outside of the head, I'm kind of flicking it. Still using the yellow, cadmium yellow. So it's little strokes as you go. And then we're going to be adding lights and darks to this. So don't worry if it's not looking right to you right now. So again, follow the lines that the feathers would be going in. So they'd be going down and around his body. Think of the shape. So you can still see bits of that grayish color. So I haven't really done his, what they call pin feathers. They're going to be more of a stroke because they're more defined, they're not fuzzy. All right, so now I'm going to take some of that cadmium yellow and I'm going to mix some of that buff, light buff color to it. Make it a little bit lighter. And now I'm going to concentrate on where the light would be shining on his head a little bit more. And you wouldn't be seeing the darker areas as much, so that gray color wouldn't be as noticeable. So around the back where there'd be more of a concentration of feathers from this angle. You kind of have to find the right water and paint consistency too to flow off your brush. So I have the lighter areas here around his little shoulder, little fuzzies. On his back, just a bit. And around his chest area, I want that color too. You just keep playing with it. Just keep, I'll show you the picture in a minute. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it so you can use it as a reference for the color. I'm just here. I'll give you I'll show you the picture, and you can take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. Okay, so if you're doing this, you can use that as a reference. got a little bit more of a lighter area here. And just around here, is a little more on the lighter side, and his head up there. And this shoulder is lighter. So the more layers you do with this brush, this rake brush, the fluffier it's going to look. But you got to remember to put other colors. You can't just use one color. It has to have lots of layers of tone. Okay, so now he does have some really light areas right in his chest. Right there. So it's just buff now I'm using, or cream. And a few right here. And on the top of his wing. Okay, now I'm going to do his little pin feathers here. You want a fairly small brush for this. I'm going to be using, if I have one here, I think I do. I want a, if you have a filbert, that would be the best because it's the shape of a feather. Let me see if I got one that's small. There's one. Okay, here's a nice small one. This is a number 2. And his feathers are kind of on the, his pin feathers are a little lighter, but not totally that buff color. So mix a little bit of the white with that yellow again. And I'm going to start on the bottom feather and just I'm leaving a little bit of gray in there. Okay. Now I want to add a little bit of more color around his eye there. So you don't want that as dominant as it is. So I'm mixing some sienna with that color of yellow, making it a little bit of a peachy color. And around his, just around his eye, there, it's kind of peachy shade. I don't want too much water on my brush though. Oh, that's too white. Just want to put a little bit of that color in there around his eye and under his neck here a little bit. Not much, just a bit. And along his tail feathers here. And just by his neck here, just a bit. And under his chin. Okay. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of the white and just dot a little bit under his eye, just a smidge. And then let's put some highlights on his beak, and it's just a bit of that buff color with maybe a little bit of that peachy color, and just at the enough on the base of his beak. It's a little bit lighter. It goes into the center of his beak. Now he kind of has, you see the nose, his nostrils, I guess you could say. And then just a little bit of that umber color mixed with the sienna. We're going to use a little bit of water on our brush so it's more watery. Let's darken this area too. And underneath. I'm just going to highlight a little bit, just a mark right there, and right there. And let's put a highlight in his eye. A very small one. Like that. So I'm gonna lighten that up a little bit, I think. Went too far. Just play with it. All right, so let's, I think, he's pretty good. Might put a little bit more on his tail area there. A little more yellow. Over there. Just kind of play with it until you like it. Take a look at your reference, see what you like in it. This guy's a little fuzzier than what the reference is showing, but I think he's cute. Hey, Colleen. All right, let's put some of the straw in, and just some of this umber color with some of the cadmium yellow, and you can kind of mix match it. Don't make it all the same color. Change it up, keep crisscrossing it. Change your color, add a little bit of yellow to it, or brown, sienna. There's all kinds of colors in straw. There's even green in straw. So you just kind of have to play with it until, like I just mix a bunch of colors on my brush. That way it's kind of multicolored, which a lot of straws are. You just kind of have to, you could practice on a piece of paper before you do this if you're not too sure. There's lighter colors, there's ones that are almost white. And then we can get our small round, and we can just do a little bit of highlights and shadows around on this again, on the shovel part. So you want some fairly dark lines underneath the handle. A little bit along here, maybe just separating that so it's more noticeable. Under here. Right in, let's see, here I think. You could put some lines in the straw too. Just darken some areas. There's a little bit of a lip on that shovel. And then a little bit of a highlight, so some of that buff color with a little bit of black to make a light gray. And not all along the whole thing, but just parts. So where it starts to come down, I might have a little bit. Like that. And on the handle here, the same on this side too. Has a little bit of a lip. So take that black again and make a, you could use a marker too if you want. There's just a very slight line here and there. You don't see it all, but just and then just a very slight bit of highlight on that too. So take that grayish color, just have to make sure it's a little bit lighter than what you were using on the base color. I think it needs to be a little bit lighter here and there. Like so. Hey, Lori. All right, now let's do some of these narcissus, I think there are. I'm going to use my flat, I think. Where is it? Smaller flat. Oh, there it is. That's what I was using. Or actually, here I have a filbert, a little bit bigger filbert. And this is kind of a buff color. So again, you're seeing a bit of that gray through the leaves. So we'll base coat, probably put a smidgen of yellow in that. And the outer leaves are kind of that mix of buff. As you can see, it's oops, I'm not even in, sorry guys. See how it's streaky? Take it out a little bit. Maybe, let's see if I can get there. So I'm actually just using a little buff, a bit of yellow, and I don't really mix it. So you're getting with each stroke you're getting kind of streaks in your petals. Now, if you're seeing some of the background, you can put a second coat. Don't worry too much about whether it's the right streak or whatever. These are very simple. They're not, your main focus is on the birds, so they didn't do a whole lot of detail on the flowers, so I wouldn't either. So I'm going over top of the lines a little bit because the center part of that flower is kind of a peachy color. So that's what I'm going to do. And this one here, they're very quick. I'm going in the direction of the petal though, so the streaks are going in that direction too. So that gives it the kind of a little bit of realism. So you're using your strokes of the paintbrush to do most of the work for you. And I think there's one in here. It's a little, it's behind this one here. I'm just going to go right off the page. You don't have to, you could just stop. Okay. All right. Now once that's dry, we may as well do the center of the flower. So the center is actually dark, so it's kind of this grayish color in the center. So I'm just gonna, right in the center here, put that grayish color in. Let's see. I'm gonna dry that. And then it's kind of the same color as the outer petals. And then the edges are done in a kind of a peachy color, on the more on the red side. And they just spiral out from that center. So you want it kind of streaky looking anyways, so I want it just a bit of okay. Then let's see, I think I'm going to use a little bit of this orange. And I'm going to mix it with some sienna probably to make it kind of dark. So there's the sienna and a little bit of, yeah, that's what I want. Okay, so sienna and orange together gives it a nice color. And just around the very, actually I could use my rake brush. And just at the very edge, rake inwards, but don't go too far. So this one's kind of, and I just took a little bit of that buff color and added it to my brush and scraped it in again. So it kind of gives it a gradient look. And they're ruffled, so they're going to be different lengths. You're not going to have a really neat circle, so keep that in mind when you're doing these. So they might be overlapping a little bit. You just play with it till you like it. The nice thing about acrylics is you can just paint right back over it. Okay. Then we can take our small brush again and take the bright yellow and just make some lines, kind of dab, dot a few lines into the center. And then take a little bit of, let's see, we should have a green actually. Do I have green out here? Yes, I do. I think. Yep. I'm going to put a little bit of olive green just in the center. So kind of a wash more than anything. It's not really heavy. Just to separate those stamens so they're more noticeable. Okay. Oh yeah, we got to do the leaves. The leaves are that same color. And I'm going to take a, where'd that brush go? And I'm going to take that filbert brush and start just going to go over the area with this color. So I'm going to paint the whole leaf with this one color. So it's kind of a olivey color. So you want it kind of a medium olive shade, I guess you could say. Let's do just one leaf at a time though, so we don't get confused where they're going. And paint in the direction that the leaf is going. So if you do have any streaking, it won't look odd. Okay. Then take your rake brush again. Where did I put it? And add a little bit of that buff color or cream color to that green, make it lighter, and then just streak it. Down the way it's growing. and then continue on and do your other ones. Now some of these are leaves, some of them are stems, so I'm doing the leaves first. This one's underneath. The other one. Okay. And then take your rake again, mix some of that buff with the green, and streak over it. Now with the stems, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to that green, just to change it up a little bit, and do the stem in that. It just changes it up a little so they're not all the same color. And there's actually a stem right here. Forgot to put it in. Okay, and now the only thing left to do is put some shadowed areas, and I'm just going to use that black that we had and add a lot of water to my brush, and wherever there's like this here, where there's something on the ground or on a table, there's always shadow. Okay, and underneath leaves, there will be a shadow. So I'm going to go right over top of this leaf here, because it would be shadowed a little bit. And under here, and under here. And then under the flowers are even shadowed. So under these petals, be a bit of a shadow. I'm going to put a little bit more on the right here. This would be darker because it's bigger. All right, let's bring you out a little bit. Oh. And I'm going to highlight that stem a little bit just to bring it out. So I'm just taking a bit of that buff. Maybe a little bit on there. I think just so that it looks a little more cohesive here. Like that. All right, so there she is, the little chick. I think it turned out kind of cute. So if you want to give it a try, just download the printable or the traceable. Give it a try. See what you can do with it. Scoop me up one fluffy chick. Yeah, they're cute. So now that one will go into my page here. So I'll just have to cut it out, cut around it a little bit. And we have Once Upon a Time. There was a chick. Next week, I'm thinking of doing where is it? There's possums, there's a little bunny, squirrel. I was thinking of the deer, but he might be a little bit too big. Or the bunny with the irises, that's cute. We'll see. So have fun with that, everybody, and if you can, get outside and do some drawing, take some pictures, get some reference photos, and draw your own. They're easy enough to do. You just print them out. If you don't want to draw them by hand, you can draw right over top. You vote bunny with irises? Okay. All right, well, I'll let you guys go because my pups are whining upstairs for me. And we'll see you Tuesday for the watercolor, and we'll be continuing drawing and line and watercolor. So ink and watercolor. So hope to see you there. And if you do this, be sure to tag me on Instagram or Facebook. I'd love to see what you did. And we'll see you all on Tuesday or Thursday. Have a great day, everybody, and have a fantastic weekend.